God, our Creator, our Redeemer, and our Provider. We love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our strength. And we love our neighbors as ourselves as we give honor to our spiritual guides, to our illuminated spring mother, Mildred Davis Miller, to His Holiness of Blessed Memory, Master Malvin Davis, to Jesus the Christ, to all the saints of heaven and earth, to our Supreme Father, Marshall Davis, and our Supreme Mother, Aletha Ravina Davis Drake, to all our family, friends, and loved ones, to all the graduates, supporters, and loved ones of the Spiritual Guidance Temple of Truth, to the officers of all people and the people that are in their nations, in their countries, and their cities, to all living creatures, and to all material manifestations, I greet you with Hotep, Shalom, peace abide. To begin our service, I'm going to read the 33rd Psalm. Here beginneth. Sing joyfully to the Lord, you righteous. It is fitting for the upright to praise him. Praise the Lord with the harp. Make music to him with the 10-string lyre. Sing to him a new song. Play skillfully and shout for joy. For the word of the Lord is right and true. He is faithful in all he does. The Lord loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of his unfailing love. By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, their starry host by the breath of his mouth. He gathers the waters of the sea into jars. He puts the deep into storehouses. Let all the earth fear the Lord. Let all the people of the world revere him. For he spoke, and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood firm. The Lord foils the plans of the nations. He thoughts the purposes of the peoples. But the plans of the Lord stand firm forever, the purposes of his heart through all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he chooses for his inheritance. From heaven the Lord looks down and sees all mankind. From his dwelling place he watches all who live on earth. He who forms the hearts of all, who considers everything they do. No king is saved by the size of his army. No warrior escapes by his great strength. A horse is a vain hope for deliverance. Despite all its great strength, it cannot save. But the eyes of the Lord are on those who fear him, on those who hope in his unfailing love, to deliver them from death and keep them alive in famine. We wait in hope for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. In him our hearts rejoice, for we trust in his holy name. May your unfailing love be with us, Lord, even as we put our hope in you. I've read the 33rd Psalm in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Blessed Mother. Amen, amen, amen. And now let's repeat the Lord's Prayer together in unison. But remember to please keep your mics muted so that we don't interrupt each other. So let's begin. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen, amen, amen. And now we have a short song today. It's called Just As I Am, and it begins as Just As I Am without one plea. Please sing along. That thy blood was shed for me, and consecrate myself to thee. O Lamb of God, I come, I come. Okay, and now we'll have our meditation, and this meditation is called Let Us Dwell in Unity. And please repeat after me. Precious Lord, bless us with your loving unity. Let us dwell together. Let us struggle together. Let us hope together as your people. It is exceedingly good and pleasant for us to dwell together in unity with you as the source of all blessings forever and ever. Amen. 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 And now we're going to do our prayer from Yom Kippur. This prayer was put together by Father Rodney Williams based on an assignment that was given to us by our Supreme Father Marshal for this year. So please repeat after me. This day, I will make the decision to improve my health. This day, I will make the decision to improve my material circumstances. This day, I resolve all emotional issues in a manner that will bring balance and improvement to my life. This day, I elevate and enlighten my mind in ways to advance my understanding by meditating and reading good materials that will tell me of my divine nature. I thank you, God, that this is so. Amen. 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 Okay, that ends our devotion. And I want to say, well, let's start with a Kwanzaa greeting. Is Habari Gani. Now, all those who know Kwanzaa, they know that the proper, on this day, the proper answer to that is Umoja, or unity. Habari Gani is just a Swahili way of saying what news. It's like how we would say, what's happening? And normally the answer would be something like Vema Hali, which means things are going well. But during Kwanzaa, each day of the Kwanzaa, when someone greets you with Habari Gani, or what news, you give the principle of that day. And today, the principle is unity. Kwanzaa is a 7-day event. Each day has a principle that goes with it. The first principle is Umoja, or unity. Kwanzaa goes from the 26th of December to January 1st of each year. And as I said, each day has a principle that goes with it, but each principle actually deals with that concept of unity. Most people, when they think of Kwanzaa, they think of what is called the candles in the Kanara. The Kanara is that 7 candle holder, and you will see that it has black, red, and green candles in it. And we'll talk a little bit more of what is the significance of each one of those candles. In the middle, there is a black candle, and that's the candle that you light on the first day of unity. And we'll talk more about what is the process or the procedure in lighting the candles on the Kwanzaa Kanara. And for our scriptural text, we're looking at 2 things. One is, if I want to look at one I didn't put in. One of them is from the 133rd Psalm. The first verse is, and it says, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." But behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. So this is in Hebrew, that word unity is a word that starts with the letter Y, or Yud. And we've been looking at what is the Hebrew word, understanding that Hebrew word for unity is used there. But another place that actually used another Hebrew word that can be translated as unity is in Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, in the 4th verse. And in this one, the word unity is normally translated as one. In this verse says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." The Lord our God, the Lord is one. Now, that one that they said in there, that word that they used there for one, is also a word that can be translated as unity. Even though sometimes, even in the Jewish Bibles, the way they translate this verse, they said, "The Lord is our God, the Lord alone." So that word that they're using for unity could also mean alone or one. But to me, one of the best translations of it is unity, because one of the greatest things God does for us is it brings us all together because God is the God of all. God is the God of everything. Therefore, he makes everything into this one, into this unified existence. And it's unified with those things that we can see, those things that we can't see, the things that are within our grasp, and the things that are beyond us. God makes all of those one or unifies them. So we were looking at, again, this word that is here translated as one, but it's the word, the Hebrew word for unity that starts with the letter Aleph. So let's talk about these two words. Let's talk about the word in Hebrew that is unity with a yud, just like the unity that we talked about in when we said, "Behold, how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." Now, in the strong system of numbering the words in the Bible, this is the Hebrew word number 3162, and it's called yachad. Yachad. And yachad means to have something that is alike, at uh, at all once. It means both, likewise, only, all together, with all. And it comes from a root, a yachad, which is, when you look at them, it looks at the same word, but sometimes it's just a little difference in when what number you find it on it, because yachad is actually found as word 3,161 instead of 62. And with yachad, it says that it probably means a unit or unitedly, all at once, likewise, all together, with all. And that root that it comes from means to join or to unite. So it's a root that means to be one or join and unite things together. So when you think about yachad, it means that you've joined things together. You've become one with those things. Even once sometimes when we talk about Jesus being the only begotten Son of God, when we usually say only begotten, we're using the Greek word for this relationship that Jesus had with God, which is monogenes. But if you look in the definition of what does monogenes translate or is equivalent to in Hebrew, it becomes yachad. So if you were to look at to say what does the Greek word monogenes translate to in Hebrew, it would be the word yachad, which means to be joined or unite with. So in saying he's the only begotten Son, if you think of it in the Hebrew sense, it means that Jesus was joined or united to God. If you look at the Greek translation of that with monogenes, it can also means the only Son of God. And there have been many things of saying, well, when we look at it from the Greek standpoint, if Jesus was that type of only Son that we usually get from the Greek translation of the word, what was Adam? Sometimes they call the angels the sons of God. What is the difference between Adam being a son of God and the angels being called the sons of God if Jesus is the only Son of God? And they're trying to make a saying, but oh, Jesus is the only one that was begotten. So that means that we're not sons of God. But if you look at it from the Hebrew standpoint, the word yachad means united with God or joined with God, and that Jesus was actually reached a level of consciousness that he was joined with God, that he could, the things that came out of his mouth came from directly from God. So when we usually think of Jesus as the Yahad or the Yehida, we think of him as being the one who is united and joined with God. So that's looking at the word for in Hebrew for unity that starts with the letter Yud. So when talking about, and I found that most of the time when you find this word uh, of unity that's used with the why, it's usually talking about in relationship of a person with either another person or with God. They would often use the unity that deals with starts with the yud or the Y letter in Hebrew. Now, when you look at the word for unity that starts with the aleph, that's the word we had when we were talking about God. The God is echad, or God is one. So the word ahad means to be alike, alone, altogether, or anything that is a piece, a certain numerical form. Echad can be a numerical form. It could probably means to be united, to be one, to be the first, to be alone, altogether, and anything that is a piece. And I don't know what you mean by piece. Certainly, daily. It can mean every, or it can mean a few. It could be a man once, only, or some altogether. And that ihad that's used there comes from a root which is ashad, and again, and echad used there is considered to be the Hebrew word 259, and echad is the number for that is 258. And that root that it comes from means go one way or other. So it means it only goes that one way or not the other. So it's a primary root, and it means to unify, to collect, or to go one way or the other. So it's saying, and when God is echad, that means that is a one path leads is like the one way to go. Is the But it's a way that unifies things when you go on that one path. And as I said, normally the places that I've seen the word echad used, or unity with an A, is most often in relationship to God being the one, God being the way that we should live, the God being the unifier of all things. So those are two of the two Hebrew words that are used for unity. And I said one, I call it unity with a yud. The other one is unity with a aleph or a. So it's like one starts with a Y, one starts with an A. Any questions about the word unity so far? And I don't think we have many that can see it, but on our screen, I use a little symbol this time. And the symbol that I'm using, and it's on most of the pages, uh, has two things. It has a unity knot, and it has what is called the Siamese crocodiles. And the Siamese crocodiles are in black. And the unity knot, one part of it is in red and one part of it is in green to represent the colors of Kwanzaa. Now, with Kwanzaa, each one of their days, they use a variety of African symbols for each one of the days. And they take these symbols from a cross section of African cultures. So you'll find some that comes from the Daga uh, people, and some that come from the Akan, which is what we call the Adinkra symbols. You'll see some of them are from the Dogon, and or at least one of them is from the Dogon, and one of them is from ancient Egypt. On that last day, they use an Ankh to represent Imani or faith. So there's a variety of African symbols that are used that represent each one of the 7 days of Kwanzaa. And the one that normally is used for Kwanzaa is called this Dagi knot, and it's a Pan-African symbol of unity found in several cultures. So it's found in the Yoruba culture, the Hausa culture, the Bashongo culture, many of the cultures. And one of the reasons that's said in these cultures is because when you look how Africa is divided up into countries and nations now, they actually cut across many different cultures. So you may find the Yoruba in more than one of the countries named now, and the Hausa, you may find them in several countries, because when Europe came and divided up Africa, they did not divide it up based on the cultural identity of the people there. They divided up based on which one of, whether it's going to be French, it's going to be uh, Portuguese, was going to be Dutch. And so they put up these arbitrary lines that actually went across a variety of cultures. But in each of those cultures, they had different symbol systems. And what Malana Karinga, the man who came up with Kwanzaa and came up with a lot, or is the most responsible for it, there was actually an organization called US or US that came together to form these principles. But they used this Daga unity knot. And probably the easiest way to, for those who don't have a screen to see it, is the knot looks like, to me, like you took two um, gym clips or paper clips and put them, made sort of like an X with the two paper clips going across each other. So it's like a knot, or what we used to make sometimes like a lover's knot. So it looks like a small version of a lover's knot. For those who remember those days when you sit up there and, as children and draw those little knots that had all these uh, entwined loops in it. And what I have done is I take that knot and I made one of those loops red and made the other loop green. And we'll talk more about the significance of the red and green. And I've taken another symbol from the Akan and their Adinkra symbols, and it's called the Siamese Crocodiles, which is another way of showing both democracy and unity. The Siamese Crocodiles represent unity in the Adinkra symbols. And what it says about it is a Siamese crocodiles, and this is a parable that goes with it. It says the Siamese crocodiles share one stomach, yet they fight over food. This popular symbol is to remind that infighting and tribalism is harmful to all who engage in it. So it says they share the same stomach, because it says like Siamese. It's like saying Siamese twins. You had these crocodiles that actually cross over each other, like in a cross. So you have two crocodiles, one going one way and the other one going in a perpendicular fashion, but their stomachs are joined together. Now, normally when you look at this, says that they share one stomach, yet they fight over food, um, and saying that this showing that infighting is not, oh, and tribalism can be harmful to all who engage in that. So it's saying infighting does not help. But if you can learn that you share the one stomach, you'll find that you don't need to be fighting each other for food, but it also shows that you do in your group, you want some crocodiles because you want some who are out there who are fighting for food for the group. Because if they stop fighting completely, how would the crocodiles feed each other? How, if they stop struggling at all against everything, then they won't be fed. But don't struggle against each other, because you're doing more to harm yourself. If you fight against each other and you hurt the other one, or you eat the other one's leg, have you really helped yourself with the damage you've done to what you're getting in that stomach? So that's a symbol of unity, showing that infighting actually blocks the progression and the development of unity, while working together with both of them fighting to feed that stomach, knowing that either one that is fed is going to work for the common good of both of them in that stomach. So their form of unity encourage, and another thing I want to say about crocodiles, in the Dinkra symbol, the crocodile, and there's a symbol that's just a single crocodile, it's the symbol of both, um, um, I'm trying to think of the word, ferociousness and adaptability. So it's saying that everybody is scared of the crocodile, so it is a ferocious animal to come up against, but it also represents adaptability. And it represents adaptability because it is what we call amphibious. It can work, or it can hunt on land or in water. It is adaptable to all circumstances. So it's saying when you have a group, you actually do want crocodiles in it, but you want crocodiles who have come to the realization that as part of this group, we are sharing the same stomach. So let's not fight against each other. Let's use our efforts to struggle to feed ourselves from other sources, not from our sources of, not from ourselves. So stop the infighting, but still keep the struggle going. And I think when we get to Kwanzaa, we're going to find out that part of the principles that they look at is being able to continue to struggle, but to have that hope. I think we're going to see that soon when we talk about what does the red and the green symbolize in the Kwanzaa symbols. So any questions so far? I know it's, some of you, most of you don't have a screen to see the symbol, but just get that concept of these Siamese crocodiles and the fact that in a group, you want people who are struggling to maintain, to keep that group going. But when doing that, you have to try to find ways that they don't fight against each other, that they don't use um, their their energies to hold the other one back, or to hurt the other. That if they can learn that, look, we're both going to be nourished by whatever the other one eats, then I need to do everything I can to cooperate with the other ones. If the other one is going to get some food, I should not be trying to pull in a different direction, because if that one eats, it's going to go into the stomach that we share. So I shouldn't be pulling against it. In fact, I can learn, after you learn, it will learn. I don't. If the other one can bite it, I don't need to bite it. I might need to be doing something else. So it's trying to show that when you learn how to work together in unity, when you learn how to say that we share the same stomach, when that person uh, advances or gets something that's a benefit, it's going to benefit us both. And that's the concept of what the proper way to learn about unity. You still have to be a part of the fight to be able to gain food, but you stop infighting because it's going to hurt the entire group. So no questions or comments?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when you look at it like that, everybody gets nourished because you're not fighting against one another. You're
Correct.
fighting the outside forces, so
Yes.
everybody gets nourished.
So true. And there's enough outside forces that for you to struggle in life, that you don't have to struggle against those that are going to be a part of the group that you are going to be working with. Um, and a lot of times people don't understand that. They still, and part of society teaches that, because the society that just keeps telling us that competition is
Yes,
the best way to
competition.
inspire people. And in fact, sometimes they'll say the only way you can inspire people is by always making them compete against each other. Well, the problem with that is that you're actually getting them to infight, so they're actually destroying some of the progress of the group.
Mm.
But they never teach you that about competition. And from Kwanzaa and some of its principles, it's trying to push on us to that the community is more important than competition. And the community should be working together towards a concept they call Harambe. Another tradition of Kwanzaa that I don't think has I put in written things here, but at the end of every Kwanzaa event, the people usually go away and they say the word Harambe, Harambe. In fact, they usually do it 7 times. They usually call Harambe 7 times, and this is usually a little hand thing they do with it, where you hold your hand up, and every time you say Harambe, you grab and bring it down to you. Except on the 7th time, when you bring it down, you let your hand go out as if you were spreading that Harambe throughout the universe, really. But Harambe is a word that means let's pull together. That's the best translation of the word Harambe, but it's trying to show them that idea of unity, not competing against each other, that life shouldn't be a tug of war against other people. It should be, let's pull those things, let's pull together to pull the things that we need for ourselves, just like those crocodiles. Let's all be working to feed that stomach. Any other comments or questions? And again, for those who you can't see the screen, but I've taken a picture of the screen from the official Kwanzaa website. This is a website that was developed by, again, Malana Karinga, who is usually called the father of Kwanzaa because he was one of the leaders of that group called US that helped to develop all of these um, traditional Kwanzaa things. If you can see it, well, you can't see it, most of you can't see it, but it has a Kwanzaa table set up with all the items that you put on the Kwanzaa table from the Kanara, which is the candle holder, and it has the candles, and the candles are all candles are lit. It has the candles on top of a mat, and you have a unity cup. You have vegetables, and fruits and vegetables, and you have ears of corns. You have books. All these things are part of it. This first page also shows the traditional symbols that are used for all the 7 days of Kwanzaa and for Kwanzaa as a whole. It shows all of the normal symbols that are used. So it has the Kwanzaa as a whole. Then it has that Daganat that I was talking about. It has the Ashante, Asente. It's a king's seat. I've forgotten how the Akan word for it, but it's a king's seat. It has the four hearts joined together. That's an Adinkra symbol, like the two Adinkra symbols. There's a symbol I forgot about. The Insibidi is another African symbol system that it uses. It has the Nefer symbol from ancient Egyptian symbol. It has some Dogon people. It has that seven-pointed star to show creativity. And then it has the ancient Egyptian symbol of the Ankh as part of it for each one of the 7 days. So as I said, there are traditional symbols from the official Kwanzaa site that goes with each one of the 7 days. Now, what I've done is I've taken the official one, which is the Daganat, and added it with a Adinkra symbol, which is the Siamese crocodiles, because I like some of the lessons that the crocodile teaches us. But there is a site that shows you about Kwanzaa, that gives you some of the background on Kwanzaa. That always goes from December 26th, which is the day after Christmas, to January 1st. And it's not, some of the things they say about it, it's not there to replace anybody's holiday. It's not there to be a religious holiday. It's to be something for African Americans to look at and think about and ponder over what are some of the things that have made us so resilient and being able to and prosperous during all times, still finding ways to be prosperous during good times and bad times. And in talking about Kwanzaa, the first thing we want to talk about, it is called the First Fruits Celebration. The First Fruits Celebration. And just to read a little bit from it, I'm going to read the statement and then we'll come back and talk about it. This is, the origins of Kwanzaa on the African continent are in the cultural celebrations called the first fruits celebrations, and to a lesser degree, the full or general harvest celebrations. It is from these first fruit celebrations that Kwanzaa gets its name, which comes from the Swahili phrase, Mantunda ya lazo ye Kwanzaa. And here, Matunda means fruits, and Ya Kwanzaa means first. The extra A at the end of Kwanzaa has become a convention as a result of a particular history. And what they basically mean is they wanted 7 letters to be in the word Kwanzaa, so they actually add an extra A to the word Kwanzaa to make it 7 letters of in the word. So the first fruit celebrations are recorded in African history as far back as ancient Egypt and Nubia, and appear in ancient and modern times in other classical African civilizations, such as the Ashanti land and the Yoruba land. These celebrations are also found in ancient and modern times among societies as large as empires, the Zulu and the kingdoms of Swaziland, or smaller societies and groups like the Matabele, the Thanga, and the Lovindu, all of southeastern Africa. Of course, all of these societies have their own names for the first fruit celebrations. Among the ancient Egyptians, the festival was called Per Im, the coming forth of among the Zulu, Um Umkushti. Among the Swahili, Inkwala. Among the Mantabile, and Inexwala. And I'm messing up some of these names, so you'll have to forgive me. Among the Tongwa, it was Lama. Among the Luvedu, it was Tegula. Among the Asante, various names, i.e., Afie or Owera. Among the Yoruba, various names also depending on the region, i.e., Ije, Olo, Olefin, and Odun Ijesu. The Asante and Yoruba festivals are usually referred to as New Yam Festival, the times of harvesting for the first yams. So it said when they were developing this idea of celebrating Kwanzaa, they looked at African celebrations that actually had to do with what was called the first fruit, or in general, what are called the harvest celebrations. So this was the celebration of a harvest. And when we're thinking about Kwanzaa, we need to think about that we should be happy and glad that we have the ability to be harvesters, that we can go out and get a harvest or do something about a harvest. So it's shown in these various parts of Africa that they've always celebrate at least the first harvest. So it's like when the first harvest that they would do, they would have a celebration, and they would usually call this the first fruits. Now, that's not always during the same time of year because harvest is different times in different years, but all of them would have these times that they would celebrate what they had harvested. But to say that is to say that they were celebrating going out and harvesting the good. This says that the one thing it says in the Bible is the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. And what it's saying is you celebrate those who will go out there and labor to be a part of that harvest, to show that you are bringing in good to the community. Like we were talking about with that crocodile, that you are bringing in food for the stomach when you're looking for that harvest. So Kwanzaa is a celebration of a community celebrating the fact that it is bringing in a harvest, that it is bringing in good. So the principles of Kwanzaa are supposed to show that good that can be harvested by a community working together. So that's the first thing. Any comments or questions so far about Kwanzaa being a celebration of a community's joy about being able to harvest good from its environment? Necessarily show that the act of being able to harvest goes real far back into African history, going all the way back to the uh, ancient Egyptians, to it talked about the Ashanti land, Yoruba land. It talked about Nubia. So it's saying that idea of celebrating your ability to harvest is something that goes way back and still continues in modern Africa, that they have these things of celebrating the ability to be able to harvest. I know now, we think about, oh, we don't want to be out there harvesting. We don't want to pick beans or things like that. But there are many ways to harvest, not just picking beans. But you have to ask yourself, what are you bringing to the table? Because that's another thing that the crocodiles do. That the crocodiles should be out there harvesting. They should be bringing something to that stomach, and we should celebrate those who are actually doing that, who are out there actually bringing in uh, nourishment to that body, whether they are with us now. And I'm saying that because a lot of times when you do this, we're actually also looking at our ancestors or those who were for us, who have put us in a position to be able to be better harvesters than the community was before. And are we adding to that harvest for ourselves and for future generations? So, any questions about the harvest and remember? So remember, Kwanzaa comes from a phrase that talks about the first fruits, of being the first, and being fruitful. Remember, Kwanzaa actually comes from a thing that says first. Now, so some people are talking about, even when you talk about black people, they were the first to cultivate um, agriculture as part of their society, and the first ones to cultivate things like astronomy and architecture. All many things can be going back to the first people to bring these things. When you think about the ancient Egyptians and the Nubians, they were the first to bring many of these techniques and ideas that we use to harvest things. So we should continue in saying, you know something, we want to have that idea that we're going to continue to be harvesters of humanity, that we're going to continue to bring about things. And and this celebration of Kwanzaa is one thing that can remind us that we should be happy and glad to be harvesters. But as the Bible tells us, part of being able to do that harvest is dwelling together in unity. Like the crocodile says, not infighting. Dwelling together in unity will make you a better harvester than saying competition. And remember, society doesn't always teach you that. Society will keep and trying to instill upon you that competition, competition, competition should be the driving force in your life. And as long as you're competing, always competing, that you'll always be bringing the best for yourself. But from the African concept, harvest, let's harvest together, let's harvest together, let's harvest together, and everybody can be fed. So if there's no other comments or questions, I want to go to, we're talking a little bit about the procedures of Kwanzaa before we
It's
go
a
to,
it's a win-win situation.
right. And remember they had to teach that one time, but go ahead, win-win, go ahead.
No, no, I'm just saying that's what we really need to be teaching. It's a win-win situation,
Mm-hmm.
not you win and I
By
lose.
lose. Yeah. And so often, and as I said, we're so
They don't teach
often,
that.
they don't teach that. One
Mm,
time they did. Remember one time when you said win-win, that many corporations, and I've forgotten the lady who created it, but there was a book they called about win-win, and
mm,
all the corporations were going out trying to teach about looking for win-win opportunities. Um, and it didn't last for long. I remember when I was working at Florida Power Light, there was a time when they came up with this win-win situation. It was about the same time in the schools they started talking about cooperative education,
yes.
about trying to teach students to work together on
Mm,
projects and to cooperate in the learning. And I think that kind of was like just a fad that kind of went away.
yes, it
Uh,
did.
but well, for a while it was this principle that they tried to get, but they have so many things that talk about competition, 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 that that idea of win-win kind of fell by the wayside. And many of their theories now trying to teach you that they'll even teach you that it's okay to be selfish. um, it's okay to seek revenge. It's okay to, to do all these things that are detrimental to society as a whole, as long as it's good for you as an individual. It's okay to have what they call the um, why am I forgetting it? The God, what do they call that? The
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
it's not not the not that's a
Selfishness is
good one, but it's
selfish.
not self-fulfilling prophecy. It's the uh it's where you only one wins. The when only one side wins, the
The
other side
strong
loses.
survive.
That's a part of it, but there's actually a philosophy to do, and it's called I'll think of the name, but it's can't think of it. But they're always pushing these philosophies that one side win, another side losing, and there's a philosophy which I can't remember the name of it now. It talks about the fact that anything that you do that cause the other person to lose is going to help you to win. Um, it's a stupid philosophy. That means that if I can't think of a way for me to win, at least I can think of a way to make you lose. And if I think of a way to make you lose, then it will eventually somehow help me to win. Um, uh, it's a and it's a silly philosophy, but it's a very prevalent philosophy, and especially when you're basing something on fear. It just says that anything I can do to hurt the person that I have defined as my enemy is good for me. And that's why we look at people and say, how can they make these decisions that actually would stop them from getting certain social services? Well, they think that they're hurting somebody else. And in their philosophy, anything they do to hurt the other person helps you to become a helps you to become a winner. Um, and I keep trying to remember the name of it, but it's sort of like this. It's not single winner. It was God. I can't remember why. I know it so well, and I can't think of it now. But it's about the way to win is to stop the other. Is to It's saying I will win if I can stop the other person from winning. Is what it says, and that's not true. You're taking the time to stop the other person when you both can end up losing. It doesn't consider that you both can lose. It only considers that at least the other person didn't win. It's a part of even the revenge theory that, if somebody does something, you get revenge on them because it's going to help you because you hurt the other person. Um, not Those philosophies are not good for the community. They're only good if you think of yourself as an individual and you think very selfishly. Um, and one of the things that I try to do is to show people the other philosophies, the ones that actually created societies that lasted for very long times. Because when you look at a lot of the African societies, the Egyptian society, and some of the others, those lasted for thousands of years. Most and without, all these big turnovers of the society. When you look at some of the societies that were based on these competition, they were very short-lived societies, and after a while, they have to change, or they're actually taken over. When you have these things where you got this one leader instead of a council that's leading it, and this one leader is sort of like the prime leader. How does it change? You get rid of that prime leader, and you have to get another prime leader. Those don't really usually last as long as society that's based on a council or a group coming together to help to lead that society. But to me, it's a very detrimental philosophy for long-term sustainability because it's a philosophy that encourages and almost demands infighting and destruction of the society around you. Where if you start thinking of how can we get a society that we're working for unity, we're all pulling together, we're all letting sharing the stomach, that we're sharing sharing in a common stomach like this doing in the Siamese crocodiles, so we can all grow better together. Any other comments or questions? So if not, we're going to go do one more section. And remember, these sections actually come from the website I told you about, the official Kwanzaa website. Um, uh, and I think it's called the official Kwanzaa um, website. Is the word website in it? I can't remember. But I know it says I think it is the official Kwanzaa website. And I thought I wrote it down here, but I didn't. But I'm going to read. This is when it talks about what are some of the procedures that you use in the Kwanzaa celebration. And let me just say that I am not I call them an Orthodox Kwanzaa person because there are a lot of other things that they have in it that I don't do all of the things that the Kwanzaa say you do. I don't always, I don't get with all of them. But some of the things I find are very inspiring of it. And so I utilize those things. But if you talk to a traditional Kwanzaa person, what I call an Orthodox Kwanzaa person, and when I say Orthodox, it's kind of bad to relate it to religion because one of the things they don't like Kwanzaa to do, they're saying it's not a religion. It's not a replacement for any other thing. So it's not. This is not something that is supposed to replace Christmas or Hanukkah or I don't know what the Muslim celebration around this time. I know Ramadan, but I don't know the others. So it's nothing to replace those. This is just something that's saying what principles have helped Black people or African American people to make it. And so we're going to get some symbols and principles together to do that. So I'm going to read through the procedure and then we'll come back and talk about some of the procedures. So this is procedures from their website. First, a central place in the home for the Kwanzaa set. The symbol of Kwanzaa is chosen. A table is then spread with a beautiful piece of African cloth. Then the makika, a mat, is placed down and all of the other symbols are placed on it or immediately next to it to symbolize our rootedness in our tradition. Next, the kanara, candle holder, is placed on the mat and the mishuma, saba, 7 candles, are placed in the kanara. The colors of Kwanzaa are black, red, and green. Black for the people, red for their struggle, and green for the future hope that comes from their struggle. Therefore, there is 1 black candle, 3 red, and 3 green candles. These are the Mashuma Saba, the 7 candles, and they represent the 7 principles. The black candle represents the first principle, Umoja, or unity, and is placed in the center of the Kanara. The red candles represent the principles of Kujichagulia, self-determination, Juma, Ujama, cooperative economics, and Kuumba, creativity, and are placed to the left of the black candle. The green candles represent the principles of Ijama, which is collective work and responsibility, Nia, purpose, and Imani, faith, and are placed on the right of the black candle. The black candle is lit first on the first day of the celebration, and the remaining candles are lit afterwards from left to right on the following days. This procedure is to indicate that the people come first, that's the black candle, then the struggle, and then the hope that comes from the struggle. So that's kind of telling you of the principle of how it works. But remember, or that there are 7 candles. The 7 red candles are placed to the left of the black candle, and the green candles are placed to the right. That just means that all the green on one side and all the red on the other side. And usually when they're talking about right to left, it's kind of like which side of the candle you're on, or which side you're going to be lighting from, uh, because depending on which side you're lighting from, and whether you're in the side that's doing the lighting or the side that's the audience, it may end up that they look like they're on different sides. But what it's trying to say is all the green candles are placed on one side, all the red candles are placed on the other side. And when you light the candles, the first candle to be lit is the black candle in the middle. And that black candle in the middle represents the people or the community. And this to me is the first part, that the black candle represents the people of the community coming together, and it's called the unity candle or the candle for Umoja, or unity. And I think I sent out to somebody spelled wrong with an I instead of a U. It is a U. So Umoja is the first candle, but I find that this principle of Umoja or unity is actually something that goes throughout every concept that you're going. And so it's the first one. And the community becomes the first and most thing for you. But it says the black candle is for the people. And it says the red candle is for struggle. And the green candle is for the hope that comes from the struggle. And when you're lighting the candles, you're always going back and forth between the two. So on the so you light the always light the black candle first. That means the people, or that means the unity. That means the whole group coming together. Then you light a red candle that is for struggle, and it gives you the 3 principles that deal with the struggle. And if you look at the order of the principles, you're looking at every other principle. It doesn't give the three principles that are next to each other. It gives every other principle when it says that the red campus represents Kujajaglia, or self-determination, and Ujamaa, cooperative economics, and creativity. If you look at them in the list of Kwanzaa principles, they are every other principle. So you end up with a principle that represents struggle, and then a principle as you're lighting them, because you go from side to side. You go from red candle to green candle, red candle to green candle, red candle to green candle, working on both sides of the black candle. But what you're doing is you're always saying, I should struggle, but then realize that there is a future, purpose, a hope that I'm trying to bring about in the struggle. To me, it's almost shown a lot of times when I tell people about being together and being part of something, that you have to find things that complement. And so the candles, to me, actually are complements to each other. They're ways of working to that unity. And even starting with the first one, because the first one is the black candle. It represents unity. The second candle, which will be the candle for tomorrow, is called Kujichargalia. Now, Kujichargalia is one of the candles that represents struggle, something that you be struggled for. And what the struggle is saying that you be struggling for is self-determination. When you're unified with a group, that means you're looking for a group that will help you to determine that helps to give you Kujichagulia, a self-determination. You don't want to be a part of a group that is not going to let you be yourself and determine who you are. One that's going to tell you how you have to be. Part of a strong unity is people having the right of self-determination. That is what makes a strong group. If they have this idea of, as being part of this group, I will be able to help to determine things for myself. Not that the group is going to tell me what to do, and everything that it's going to give you some instructions on that help you to do things, but they're going to let you determine or help you to be more self-determining in your life. Will make a stronger unity than saying, no, we're going to force you to be a part of this. No, we're going to make you do the things. Kujitargalia is one of the principles that should be connected to unity. And a complementary process that you need to do when you're thinking about self-determination is you also have to consider the group. And to me, that's why remember, Chagalia is the first red candle. The first green candle then is Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. So that kind of balances off what self-determination should be doing. That when you're determining what you want to be for yourself, you still have to consider the concept of working collectively and the responsibility that you're taking for it. The hope. What remember? This is the green candles are the ones that talk about the hope. They talk about what you're driving or striving for. So one of them talks about what the struggle is, and the struggle is self-determination. The complementary part to that is then what is the hope? What are you trying to develop? And for me, when you can compare Kuchichagalia, the red candle, to its first green candle, which is first green candle is Ujima, and I always get Ujima and Ujamaa to mixed, but Ujima is collective work and responsibility. So the balance, self-determination, you got to say, but I'm working collectively and I'm taking responsibility for what I do. So hope you can see how there is still um, a balance that is trying to reach in it, and that's why you kind of like going from the center of the candle from to the red side to the green side to the red side to the green side to the red side to the green side is another way of making harmony a part of the unity that you are putting together, because then the next red candle would be, um, let's see, we got Kujira. The next one is Ujama, Ujamaa, or Ujamaa, and that is cooperative economics. So in saying, because you have these other ones, the other candles going of self-determination with collective work and responsibility, then you, in the economic things that you do, you want to say how you can be a part of it through cooperative economics. Economics, again, not competing against them, but how you can cooperate with it. Part of the struggle is to have economics work together cooperatively with others, um, as a part of building this strong village that will last for long, this strong community, this strong unity. And the complementary to cooperative economics, which is the second red candle, would be the second green candle, which is Nia. So your cooperative economics always looks to what is its purpose. Nia means purpose. So you're working with cooperative economics, but then you're looking at what my purpose. I don't want to have a purpose, again, that is going to be detrimental to the community. I want to be, yes, I can cooperate with economics, but I'm still not going to get, just because it's cooperating with the economic system, I still want its purpose to be for the development of the community. And then the last red candle, and saying the last one, not the last candle, but the last red candle is Kuumba, or creativity. So you try to find creative ways to work within that purpose and that economics. You're trying to now to find a creativity and use your creativity as part of that. And the balance of your creativity is the last candle, which is the last green candle, and that is Imani, or faith. So your creativity should still be working with, uh, how do you develop your faith in things based on being creative use of your abilities and making them a part of expressing the faith that you have. So I hope you're saying that there's this complements that are being formed as you're working through the candles, and you're as you're working on them each day, you're trying to say, how does each one complement, how do all of them complement this candle of unity, which is the first black candle. When I do a red candle, how does this struggle complement unity? When you do the green one, how does this green candle complement the struggle that I'm a part of and the people? And you just keep adding them together as you go along for each one of the 7 days. But in your life, always looking at, how am I always working for this unity? How in this unity I know that what's going to be more um, engaging to me is knowing that I'm working on something that I am self-determining what I'm creating. That and with that self-determination, I know that I'm still going to be able to work collectively with that and be responsible for what I'm determining for myself. So, like I said, you want to be in a crocodile. You want to, in your struggle, actually be out there fighting for food, or being ferociously working to how you have to adapt to life, but you don't want to destroy those things that are already a part of your group, and you want to do it. So that's why it's called collective work and responsibility. That you're going to work together collectively, because that's what the two crocodiles are doing. They're working together collectively, and they're taking responsibility whatever they're fighting against. But those are kind of the way that I look at the principles of Kwanzaa, those and how they complement each other, and how in our lives you should be thinking about how we're working towards the community. And you don't have to, if you don't remember all of them, do remember that there's the red and the green. And the red means that you should be actively struggling for it, or active even. And the green represents that you need to have a hope. You need to have that purpose. You need to have cooperative, how you can work together corporately, to or collectively to make better things and work with things that are part of a collective work and work that does responsibility. So you're working with the struggle and the hope with the people. So it's the people come first, though. You, the people, but the people have struggle, that you're struggling for the people, and that you always have a hope to go with the people. So, if any questions so far or comments about the wisdom of Kwanzaa and the people, but remember, all the day is just that first day, and the first day is Umoja, and Umoja, which means unity, but then it kind of like further refines what are you going to mean? What do you mean by unity? Are you going to mean that I have to stick with something even though it's going to take all of my ability to determine things for myself? And this is saying no, that unity should have the qualities of self determination, cooperative economics, and creativity as part of it. And it should also have a part of it that deals with collective work and responsibility, with a purpose, and with the faith that I'm going to have in life. Unity should have all these principles as part of it. So I'm helping to refine and define that unity, but knowing that these should be the things that I struggle for, these should be the things that I'm hoping in life, because since ancient days, this type of harvesting in the for the community has been something that has created long-lasting, stable societies. Any comments or
I have,
questions? Go
I
ahead.
just want to say, um, want to mention that unity is not uniformity,
Oh, where did you get that from?
right?
I'm kidding. I think
Oh,
she heard me talk about that. But go ahead.
no, I just was saying that unity does not mean uniformity, that everybody has to have the same thing, everybody has to do
Yeah.
the same thing. So that, I just wanted to mention that as a point. That's all.
Yes, and that's part of, yeah, because that even part of that self determination, and I think Teresa, I think she heard it from me telling this story about unity and as not uniformity, is when I was young and first learning about Kwanzaa. A lot of times you would go to places and they were telling about unity. What you would hear from some of the people that were talking about it is, you got to, wear African attire all the time. You have to learn how to speak Kiswahili and stop speaking the other person's language because your mind will be able to change and think better when you learn Kiswahili or some African language. And they were talking about all of these things, and it was really starting to turn me off against Kwanzaa. But I was a part of the Black Archives in Miami, and we would go to these conferences. And one of the conferences I went to was in California, and Malana Karinga, the man who was behind Kwanzaa, was speaking there. And the speech that he gave was actually talking about the concept of unity. And the first thing that came out of his mouth is that unity does not mean uniformity. That was his whole speech, to let people know that unity does not mean uniformity. Uniformity means everybody has to be exactly the same. And he was saying that's not what unity is. And probably the easiest way that I have to explain that is in a car, you wouldn't want everything in the car to be the same thing or do the same thing. But when you put the things, when you put an engine, when you put a radiator, when you put tires, when you put lights, when you put the battery, when you put all these very different things together, they unify and become a car that can move and get you your places. So it's not uniformity that does it. It's the fact that these things can work together to be productive. So everything does not have to be the same thing. Even the Bible is talking about we not, each star has its own different glory, and we have to look when we're bringing people together in a group, people will have a different glory. One will do one thing, one will do another thing. But this idea that everybody has to look the same, they have to be able to say the same thing, they have to be able to memorize the same verses. A verse that may be very meaningful to you in the Bible may not be the one that inspires me. I might have a whole another verse of the Bible that inspires me. So unity does not mean uniformity. It doesn't mean we have to all dress in a certain way. We all have to walk a certain way. We all have to talk about the same thing. It's that the but when you get those things and you get things together to start working well together, that's when you have unity. How productive can it be? How how can that thing become a part of the harvest? So unity is not uniformity. Don't and sometimes even will say that, oh, everybody has to be black. And one thing I think about everybody having a group where you're saying everybody has to be black, there's some black people that don't get it. And everybody knows that those black people that don't get this philosophy, no matter how much you talk to them, they're not going to get it. That are you going to let them come and destroy it just because they are black? No. If there are some people of another culture that get it, then you should learn how to work with them. In fact, I think the more we can get other people to kind of adopt some of these principles, the better it will be for all of mankind. When we get all of mankind to start learning that this idea of competition, um, uh, this idea of win lose philosophy is not good for society. This idea, and one thing that I really hate that they seem to have accepted in most American principles is this concept of fear, that somehow fear is uh, a good quality to have. And I saw this in two movies. I saw this in two movies. I saw this in one where they would talk about how fear helps you. You just have to learn how to direct your fear to certain things. And when I look at fear, the biggest problem with fear, unless you're talking about when they say fear the Lord, which is more of a respect, you do have to be respectful of things. But usually, when we're talking about that emotion of fear, what we're talking about is the emotion of separating things. Uh, I get that kind of from the Chinese concepts of emotions. They have six emotions, and each emotion has a contrary emotion that goes with it. And like you would have the concept of grief, and the opposite of grief for the Chinese is courage. So you're either going to be a person who is grieving, or you're going to be a person who is courageous. And they have one of the six emotions they have is fear, and the opposite of fear, and it took me a long time to think about it, but the opposite of fear to the Chinese is harmony. That when you have a person that their mindset is on harmony, like we're talking about unity and cooperation, it actually can get rid of fear. If it's something that you fear, it's something that you want to separate yourself from, something that you don't want to be in harmony with. And if it's something that you want to start working on getting rid of the fear, you have to start thinking then, how can I harmonize with that thing? And that takes away the fear. So working towards harmony can be a strong emotion, and I think a stronger emotion or a more lasting and fulfilling emotion than fear. But some people they don't want to work in harmony. They think that, oh no, there's so many things to fear. But why can't you start working? There's so many things where you can harmonize with them. And when you can harmonize with them, you'll see that you'll be able to get over your fears and see how much can be produced through harmony, or what we're saying here, unity. How do you unify, harmonize yourself with the good things in life? Because you don't want to harmonize with the things that are bad. Some of the other principles will get you away from that. But how can those things that you are unjustly fearful of, uh, and not thinking that, oh, I just got to separate myself from those things, and I'll do anything in my power to just to separate from myself, no matter how cruel I have to be. There are things that I want to separate myself from, and start saying that, no, I need to see what things I need in my life to bring harmony, and how can I use harmony as the as the uh, as the urge within me to achieve more and better things. Any other comments or questions? Because like I said, I like the some of the wisdom that we can learn from Kwanzaa. And but I'm very quick to tell people I am not a total Orthodox Kwanzaa person. I and that for me that's part of that not being uniformity. And I say that because they have certain uh, parts of it. Because one of the, it's funny as far as I said about bringing others, a lot of the traditional Orthodox Kwanzaa people, they don't believe that other nationalities, other ethnic groups should be a part of the celebration. Um, and it's on one of the pages where they say that and they don't think that you should mix it with any other principles. And a lot of times when I do, when I look at the Kwanzaa principles, the seven principles, I look at what we teach of the seven creative spirits as being a part of it. Um, but traditional Kwanzaa people, they like to keep just the some of the things that they practice and the way they do it. And some of them are beautiful because when earlier we were talking about when we at the beginning of this, we talked about, and I probably didn't talk about it, I probably should. They talked about the Kwanzaa set that you have up. So, and we're sort of like the Kwanzaa setup that you have in there and what symbols should you be choosing to put on there. Because they talk about getting a place or a table and to first put down a cloth on it, and then on top of that cloth comes what is called a mat is placed down. Now the mat is actually like if you're putting on an altar, and you want to put something there to represent a foundation. Kwanzaa has that principle in it that you not just put a cloth down and then start putting things on top of the cloth, but you put the thing, you put it down, and then you put some type of mat there, either rectangle or square, to represent a foundation that you're going to put everything else on, or at least near. And that's why it says, then the makika or the mat is placed down, and all the other symbols are placed on it or immediately next it to symbolize the rootedness in our tradition. But it's talking about doing a foundation. When you have something, you have to make it a foundation of your thinking. So a part of it is first you put a cloth down, and then you put a mat on top of the cloth. And then the kanara, which is the candle holder, is actually placed on top of the mat. It's placed top of that foundation that you've already laid for it. So it has that concept of laying down a foundation on which you're going to put all the principles on, even though it calls it tradition here. Other places they call it a foundation. So it symbolized that foundation that you place to put the candlesticks on it. And then inside the candlestick, you put the seven principles in in there, but you do it as red and black candles, red, black, and green candles. And I've explained to you before what is the symbolism behind those. How the, like I said, the black symbolize the people or the coming together community. Because remember, black is a color that actually represents the drawing in of all colors. It's the absorption of all colors when you take the color black. You have all colors in it. White represents the reflection of all colors, or sending out all colors. Black representing a material that kind of soaks in the energy of all colors. Then the red again symbolizes the struggle. It was talking about the struggle of the people. That people are working; they're actively working for the benefit of the community. And green represents the future of the hope that comes from the struggle. So as you're struggling, you want to be struggling for some hope. And remember that the three green principles again are collective work and responsibility, purpose, and faith. So collective work, purpose, and faith are the hopes that you work for. And the things that you struggle with are self determination, um, cooperative economics, and creativity. So any other comments or questions? And again, for me, we relate all this to the 130th, the first chapter, 133rd Psalm is behold how good and pleasant it is for brethren to work together in unity. But the principles of Kwanzaa makes you kind of dig into what am I going to mean by working together, dwelling together in unity. And some of the things of Kwanzaa start giving us some ideas of what are some of the struggles we're going to have, what are some of the expectations. When I think of hope, I always think about what are some of the expectations that I should have. Should I have an expectation of collective work and responsibility? A expectation that there's a purpose behind what I'm doing, and an expectation that is going to build my faith on what I'm doing. All those things should be a part of how we define unity. So that is kind of my summary of the wisdom of Kwanzaa. Thank you for being with us. I always like to leave off with our quote from our Supreme Mother right now, and that is, today I will walk in the light, talk in the light, think in the light. I am the light within. And everyone, I think you should repeat it after me of saying, today I will walk in the light, talk in the light, think in the light. I am the light within. So if there are no other comments or questions, I know everybody's probably trying to get over Christmas and getting ready for New Year's. We have a New Year coming in soon. So I hope everyone is getting prepared for a very new year. I haven't checked. I know that should be our Supreme Father should be getting messages out. He usually does that as part of a New Year's Eve service of picking messages. So we finished the messages for last year, and are waiting to get a message for our next year. And our next service will be, I think, on January the 2nd. Sunday will be January the 2nd, and we'll see if we have our messages yet by then, or and have it prepared, because it probably is not going to be until Saturday that we start pulling those messages. But I'd like to thank you for being with us. I'd like to thank all of you who have contributed to the temple. We're still getting messages. Our chairs aren't ready yet, but they are starting to give us weekly updates that they're not ready yet, but at least weekly updates. So they should be ready for delivery within a month or two. And thank those who have made contributions to us. As you said, through Zelle or Cash App, you can make contributions to us through my telephone number of 954-549-4713. You can also send through the Zelle at the email address of the temple at offerings@spiritualguidancetemple.org. You can go on our website, and there's a button to make donations. Our website is www.spiritualguidancetemple.org. Thank you for being a part of our lessons and service. And for our dismissal, let me say, may the love of God illuminate your way. May the will of God direct you each day. May the truth of God all errors depart. And may the peace of God forever dwell in your heart. Amen, amen, amen.